but I really thought it'd be helpful to drill down on some of the other parts of this package that are going to be absolute game changers for New Mexico. And the first thing to know is that this is going to supercharge the already robust efforts of our governor and our state to vaccinate New Mexicans. Nationwide, there's $20 billion in this plan that will allow the Biden administration to improve distribution and administration and production of vaccines. And in addition, it includes very specific provisions to support vaccine delivery to our veterans, to the VA, and to our tribal communities through the IHS. We're also going to greatly be able to expand testing, genomic sequencing of variants so that we can stay ahead of the variants, and contact tracing efforts, as well as manufacturing and procurement of PPE. So in a very real way, I believe that today is the beginning of the end for this pandemic. It's also pretty amazing to think that this piece of legislation is literally the single greatest investment in Indian country in American history. We have to reduce the stark and incredibly persistent inequities in transmission and hospitalization and death rates. And this makes real robust investments to do that. $31 billion nationwide for tribes. There will be well over $1 billion flowing directly into the tribes in New Mexico. And this includes, in addition to the direct response to the virus, unprecedented levels of federal funding to increase access to clean water, electricity, broadband, the basics that we realized are so underserved in too many tribal communities. Also, expanding the child tax credit is something that hasn't gotten quite as much talk as I think it really deserves. And for New Mexico, it's enormous. We're looking at nearly every child in New Mexico, something like 95%, will benefit by expanding the child tax credit. Taking that credit from $2,000 to $3,600 per child and making those payments monthly. So if you think about that, if you have a single mother who's out of work, who's got a 4-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son, right now she would receive no child tax credit at all. Under this legislation, she'd receive the full tax credit of $3,600 for her daughter and $3,000 for her son. That means $550 per month for the year. In addition, this legislation is going to help us safely open our schools. We secured $1.2 billion for New Mexico K through 12 public schools to really address all of our needs to get those schools open, to do it in a way that is safe for our kids and safe for our educators. And 95% of that money is going directly to local school districts on the ground for sick leave, for technology, for air filtration upgrades, for outdoor classrooms. So the last thing I'll just mention is, restaurants, we all know, have been particularly hard hit by this pandemic. And we included a proposal that was very bipartisan to do $25 billion nationally in direct grants that is focused at local businesses, not at chains, but at local restaurants. Now, before I introduce Senator Lujan, I want to leave you with something, which is, please, New Mexico, file your taxes. Even if you think that you're not going to owe anything, that's how the federal government is going to find you for these programs. So this year, whatever else you do, make sure that you file your taxes. This plan, this American Rescue Plan, it's the beginning of the end for this pandemic. And it's the beginning of a return to something that's going to feel a lot more like normal than what we've been living through for the last year.